officer's wardroom.
Nice.
Did you see that photograph on the podium?
No.
When they were doing the safety video of the USS Hornet, which is the same class as this, next to the USS Enterprise?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. It was a huge size difference.
I can imagine. I can't not record. I should have brought the head thing. Yeah. It's a big area. Check out the next room.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That was the first landing on a ship.
Yep.
It was the USS Pennsylvania, which was a heavy cruiser. Armored cruiser, actually. ACR or something like that.
This is amazing. Look at, there she is, CV-12. From the Yorktown. I didn't realize she...
There were two Yorktowns.
This is the CV-10 Yorktown.
Second Yorktown.
USS Hornet at anchor at Entawak Atoll, August 26, 44. Hornet circa 44. Look at this. TBM-3 Avenger torpedo bomber.
Revolutionized naval exercises, including successful mock air raids on the Panama Canal and Pearl Harbor. Dive bombing and new fighter tactics were developed in the San Diego region.
Kitchen. Not a clue what any of these are for.
Void tanks, flooding.
Void tanks, right. Wow.
This is the officer's pantry. See this one?
What's up?
These overhead rails.
Yeah, that's how they...
This is for moving ammunition.
Yep. Oh man, wish we could go down there. No tours down there today. Next time I come to California, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, for a second there I was like, what?
This is an alarm right here. It's not going off.
Holy come. Damn Cardassian bulkheads.
No. There you go.
What do you got in here? Models.
There's the CV-8. There's the Wasp, CV-18, and CV-12. So the 8 was a Yorktown class.
Nice.
There were only 3 of those ever built. The Yorktown, which is the CV-5, the Enterprise, which is CV-6, and the Hornet, which is CV-8. Notice the 7 was missing. That was the Wasp, which is its own ship, its own class. Oh, there's the Typhoon damage.
Oh yeah.
The Hornet's biography is the history of the Pacific War. She took part in
No service, what a surprise. You know how much steel you're below?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you're not getting any signal through this. No signal.
Carrier is one of the most popular attractions in California and a reminder of the heroic past of the U.S. Navy. She had
You know, I've been here for a long time, but I've actually never done the second deck.
He fought in 59 battles.
Really?
Yeah, I've never been down there.
Well, the second deck goes quite a ways back, buddy.
I know.
900 and some odd feet. Whatchamacallit, advanced technology throughout World War II. I don't know. It's not even hot down here.
Watertight doors.
Yeah.
These are officers' quarters. That's all I ever want.
Weekend pictorial. All on loan from the private collection of Ray Vidia.
He was in NCL, but he wouldn't. I don't think he would have a room like that. This is
No.
definitely officer quarters.
Yeah. For sure. Rescue breathing apparatus. Little drips mean big dips. Did you read that? I wonder what it's actually.
Oh, this is damage control, I think.
I wonder what they actually have down below decks here.
I think it's damage control.
Damage control?
I think so.
Auxiliary systems?
Yeah.
Yeah, to close bulkhead doors maybe?
No, I don't think so.
No?
These are all manual. I don't think they could do that. Auxiliary, open, shut. Yeah, I feel like this is the damage control.
This is what?
section.
Oh, we have something else here. There's a lot of training to get on this. Here you go.
Huh? Oh, anti-submarine warfare?
Yeah.
Sonar buoys?
Back up a little bit. Sonar buoy. Man, look at the old circuitry compared to today. How quickly time has passed.
Aircraft attacking a surface German U-boat.
What's that say?
Huh?
Oh, fog foam.
Here's the ready room.
Ready room? All right, let's do it. Are you ready? Cheesy. Original seats. All the pilots that sat here getting their debriefing. Well, briefing for, yeah. You want to sit down on one of the seats? Just because?
All LSOs are pilots. The LSOs need to put themselves almost inside the cockpit. What we can see on the platform, sometimes the pilot cannot see as they're coming down the chute.
Actually fairly comfortable.
The jet comes aboard, it's an exhilarating feeling. There's nothing like having a jet
Sit here and be briefed.
to your left there, and it's good. The roar
Your
of the
upcoming mission.
knowing that you're responsible for that guy coming aboard and saying, it's a pretty cool feeling.
During these exercises,
That's all Vietnam.
Yeah.
take off and landing procedure over and over again.
Out of practice mission, you launch up the carrier, you'll get your gas, you'll practice fighting your way into a simulated target, you'll drop some practice bombs, you'll find a tanker again, and then when you come back, you'll have an aircraft carrier.
As each pilot touches down, the LSO grades the landing. But there's more at stake than pilot ego. Bad grades can cause pilots to lose their carrier qualifications.
Ferry Albacore, that's a British plane.
Mm-hmm.
P-47, P-38, and what is that one? Oh, S&J?
Yeah.
Texan?
64.
albacore is kind of a... That was supposed to be the replacement for the swordfish. I really need to brush up on my Royal Navy aircraft. And then the path splits. Alright, Marines. These are where the Marines used to sleep.
Okay, take a look in there and then we'll go check there. We'll come out this way. God. I'll just use up the whole card on this. We can transfer it to something. Empty the card out.
Remember we got the card reader last time and everything?
Yeah.
And then we realized that my laptop had one built in.
Yes, it did. Oh, I used to sleep right here.
Oh, look, they have their own type of lube oil.
Where'd you see that? Oh, lube oil. Yeah. There's something back here, buddy. I think it's an office. You can't go back there. Something over here, though.
Trash can.
Post office.
There's a lot of damage control stuff.
I know. And each person on board had to know every single system. I love how the old style brass stuff.
I know, right?
Every person on board had to know all this stuff.
There's more overhead rails for moving stuff.
Yeah. Gallery closed. Please excuse our desk. So, oh, it keeps going to the post office.
Panel deactivated.
Oh, wow.
Shouldn't be worried.
Yes, it is. Actual letters. Oh, we can go in there too? Awesome.
On the mailroom?
At least they don't, really truly block you in certain areas. Imagine how many people spend their days in here. Just hours upon hours upon hours sorting mail. You can hear someone walking above deck too.
Oh, that's the armored deck. You shouldn't be able to hear anything too bad. It's like super thick.
Yeah, well.
More berthings.
Drain control.
Damage control.
Ah, it just keeps going. I hope we can find our way back.
Well, we're on the other side of the ship at this point. We just went laterally. I mean,
Look at that.
bow and stern, so
Yeah.
you want to keep heading towards the stern.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, but you've never been down here before and you've lived here for 3 years.
I know. Well,
Doesn't matter, you're here now.
I am.
Finally, right?
It really isn't tough stuff.
More watertight doors.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, so much stuff. Ouch. That hurt. Kinda hard to avoid that.
Escort carrier.
Yeah.
Gambier Bay.
Vice Avro.
In 70-second scale.
We could 3D print something that big.
Yeah.
Ouch.
And be careful.
Yeah, it's possible.
Gambier Bay wasn't that much smaller than the lander.
Looks like they used photo etch right there.
Oh yeah.
They probably had their own photo etch done.
No, the wooden deck. That looks really nice.
Yeah, it does. I think it's actual wood too.
Of course it is.
Well, it could be plastic. We could paint plastic to look like wood. We're good at that. Now you can get up to one of the foam canisters, foam liquid concentrate.
escrow carrier. This is what are you? Casablanca class?
That's gigantic.
These escrow carriers, these are tiny.
I know.
Look, there's a size. They're like 2/3 the size of a regular carrier.
Yeah, let's continue. Wonder what these are for. Casualty power supply systems, bulkhead terminals 2 through 131 through 2. Or -2, however.
Stuff?
Oh yeah, because they're
There's some along with it. The USS Wasp.
where's the landing gear? Gotta weather those panel line washes.
There you go. There's a drawing of the original USS Wasp.
Yeah.
Mailbox. Those are big.
Those are definitely not 32nd scale.
Those are like
1/16.
maybe 1/18.
Those are,
They're
look
not
like they're
kits,
actually
they're toys.
toys, yeah.
Hellcat. There you go. Those are all 48 scale,
Mm-hmm.
including the Skyray, Skywarder.
There's a trumpeter model kit. USS Ticonderoga. Wonder if Trumpeter knows there. One of their models is sitting there. Probably not, but be a nice honor.
Yeah.
USS Ticonderoga by Edward E. Suttery. It just keeps going.
USS Essex.
Holy snap.
Yeah, I don't know if this is 72nd. This is probably
35th.
no.
Ah, 35th.
Smaller. 144. Yeah, probably 144. At least the aircraft, they look too small to be 72nd. Maybe 100.
Yeah. I think 1/144th would be a little bit smaller
Yeah, I
than
think
that.
it's 100.
100.
We'll go with some of our numbers. I think we've reached the end of the line now, right?
Indeed. Up we go.
I'll
I'll turn the camera around so we can see how thick it is. It's actually... It's pretty thick, dude.
Oh wow, they're really making progress in that Wildcat.
Oh man.
They didn't even have the fuselage together last time I was here.
See John Kessler, see John King, that's zinc chromate.
That tractor is the grass are Skyhawks, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, we can go over here too. That'd be cool to be the person that gets to restore these. Out on the deck? Yeah.
When they're painting from
Mask it just like we do. That's right.
the same blue tape that we use.
That's right. But we can go up there too.
Yeah, up to the fantail?
Yeah, we can also go up here after if you want. Have you been up here before?
No.
You should. CPO and mess lounge. So what do you say we go out and see the fantail first, and we go up here and we come back down and see here?
Perfect.
You want to try that simulator?
Yeah, I don't know.
Might as well, right?
Yeah.
This is an interactive tour of the ship.
There's San Francisco.
Indeed. Look at all the fit. Look at all the bait down there. Swimming around. Look at all the fish.
Oh wow. Looks like there's no fish in the bay.
Oh please, there's fish everywhere. Send.
U.S. Navy barge.
Huh? Oh yeah.
Barge. We need to make that for our naval game.
Yeah.
Be like a special unit. I don't know what for. But
Yeah, I'm not gonna point my camera over that edge.
Okay, so here's something cool. So that little area over here,
Yeah.
where all the hangars are, that used to be the seaplane base.
Oh, nice.
Back when they used to have like the large seaplanes. So you can see like the slips where they could get them in and out of the water.
Yeah, you can.
So they would taxi out into here and then take off straight out that way.
And you got a nice little shot of San Francisco right there.
Yeah.
Where's the Golden Gate from here?
On the other side of the city.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Where is... That's the anchor thing.
Okay.
We make our way across the flight deck.
So you want to go downstairs first, or do you want to go upstairs real quick right here?
Oh, let's go upstairs.
All right, let's go upstairs, check that out, and we'll come back. You want to go in the CPO mess and lounge?
I didn't know you could go up there. That's different.
Huh, let's do it. Boy, these are like really steep. Oh, they definitely were. There's a good camera shot for you. You can see the front right here, the Wildcat. I wonder what's up there. No, we can't go up that one. We can only go in right here.
room is a main shower with two faucets coming out of the wall. And, you know, young girls are quite shy. They don't want to be undressed in front of pretty girls. Oh my goodness. We all had to shower together. My friend had
Here's look at all the internment camp stuff.
Yeah. Steph's Anna was in one.
Oh Jesus.
She's actually really open about it. She talks about it all the time.
Really?
Yeah. I was surprised. The 1/6 scale.
Yeah.
With a Browning automatic rifle.
Hirosai.
They returned as heroes, and it was positive.
Oh, it's George Takei.
What? Oh. Yeah.
How much I know that voice?
I didn't even hear it until you mentioned it. George Takei.
He's from here.
San Francisco?
Yeah.
Is that where he's born?
Yeah. He's just like Sulu.
Just like Sulu, yeah. Which was probably completely intentional. Liberating the Chow.
Liberation of the French towns of Brieuze and Bifontaine, where to this day their inhabitants gratefully remember the sacrifices made by the soldiers.
There was been Sunday, and all of a sudden, gunfire. Whenever plane goes down and come up with black smoke,
This is in Arisaka.
wow,
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
and about 10:30 or 11 o'clock, video came out.
Courtesy of Mr. Amava Ishikawa. San Jose Ishikawa served in New Caledonia, Guadalcanal, New Britain, Philippines, and Korea.
On December 7, 1941, the Imperial Japanese military carried out a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, marking the beginning of the World War II Pacific Theater. As a result, the fate of Japanese Americans began to change drastically. Even though they were American, the Japanese Americans were treated as enemy aliens.
Yes, they were.
Approximately 120,000 living on the west coast of the U.S. mainland were sent inland to live in makeshift relocation camps on the wastelands. I was in camp 1942 around May, and that first night was probably the worst
Ichikawa.
night of my life. In fact,
Actually, I was just talking about Ichikawa. Oh, that's Ishikawa.
Was 600 wounded, 200 killed. After days of treacherous fighting against a stubborn enemy under difficult conditions, the 442 broke through and rescued the lost battalion.
Did you get a good shot of that? It's cool, isn't it?
Like that.
Yeah.
And we have all the parts here, the cowlings and stuff that they took off, the flaps.
Yeah. Wonder how long it's been under restoration.
It's been a while.
You've seen it here before?
Oh yeah. It's been under restoration as long as I've been here.
Oof.
As far as the damage is primer, but they just put the engines back on it. That's new.
Hey. Cool.
I wonder if they spray it outside like the flight deck.
Say again?
I wonder if they would spray it out on the flight deck. Better ventilation.
That is a good question, sir. Unless they close this entire area down and just have large fans. You want to go down here? See?
That I have seen it. If you want to go for it.
Yeah, I'll go.
It's just like the wardroom and stuff.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Which wardroom?
The officer's wardroom.
We did?
Yeah.
No, this is the back half. I'll be up in 2 seconds. Yeah, I think we did see this. God, ship's massive. So that's the armor deck, huh?
It's interesting that the flight deck is the armor part of the hangar deck, that is.
Yeah. Too much weight otherwise.
They changed it. They moved the armor deck to below the flight deck instead.
Could be too much weight otherwise.
Probably.
The engineering probably wasn't up to...
Lower center of gravity.
I don't know if we can...
Engine mounting for the Wildcat.
Awesome. I don't know if we can get...
I'm super surprised to see Spaceship One here. I thought that was in Smithsonian.
Yeah, it's a little odd that it is here, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't know if we can get in this right now. We could go ask somebody up front. It's worth a shot, right? You could say, what? Hi, I came all the way from New York. Is there anybody working the simulator?
Spaceship One. Such a cool thing.
I know.
Yeah, that's definitely a replica.
Huh?
That's definitely a replica.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So there's all the Hornet aircraft that have ever landed. You don't count.
He's got a bum leg.
Yeah.
Poor guy. Oh, he definitely has a bum leg.
That's also a replica.
Not as many as you.
Come on, try it. Starting with the oldest one.
I don't know. I see a Wildcat. I see a Hellcat. What is that? B-25.
Yeah, on the bottom.
I see a
Starting
Corsair.
from the top, going down, right? That's a Helldiver. Well, the original Helldiver. Then a Wildcat, Dauntless, Devastator, B-25, Corsair, Bearcat, Hellcat, the second Helldiver, Avenger, Sky Raider, Skyhawk, Fury, Phantom, the original Phantom, Panther, A2 Savage, stupid helicopter thing I don't know, Sky Ray, Cougar, Tracker, Tracer, Sea Sprite, Seahawk, and Seahorse.
Yeah, all the old.
So this is a Apollo boilerplate. So this is what they use for like drop tests and stuff.
Yeah. We gotta go see if someone's in the sim, working the sim, so we can do that. Because mobile quarantine facility. Check this out.
Yeah.
Apollo and Splashdown exhibit. Mobile quarantine exhibit.
Look at all this.
Hmm?
NASA crates.
2,000 pounds in that one crate. Handle with care. Splashdown. Wow. Is it really?
Yeah.
Saturn V.
They're all labeled Saturn V. Mostly. That one is at least on top there. So is this one.
So this had Saturn V components.
Yeah. So the question is, what is it?
66, 47, 50. Weight 350 pounds. Marshall Space Flight Center.
I'm definitely interested now.
You can ask when we get up front.
I will. That's really cool.
Absolutely. The moon. I like that. Shows all the Apollos. No, you'd be embarrassed.
Eventually, with the colonies and those will all become museums.
They will all be. They will become museums.
Yeah.
Pull the handles for the difference between lifting object that was 24 pounds. Okay. So here's what it feels like on our gravity. This is what it feels like on the moon.
Do that like with a finger.
Yeah, you could.
I can't do 24 with a finger, but I still with one hand.
Here you go. Here's the Saturn V.
Yeah. Oh, this is probably 70 scale. Maybe 48 scale.
Scratch built.
Yeah, 48. This is 48 scale.
Should take multiple photos
This
of
is 72nd.
Take multiple photos of this for our records.
Right, so you'd see that the lunar module would be hiding in this section here.
Yeah. The one Bob Schotterback built.
So the S4B section, this is the one that they were using for the Space Launch System.
Waste now.
That and the engines. The main engines for Saturn V, they were using those too.
As long as they're still functional.
That's the funny thing, it's like the,
Look, there's the actual quarantine cap. Yeah.
that's how they loaded it onto the ship.
That's cool. Here's a gantry with the Saturn V. Oh, it's a paper model.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, the gantry is, yeah. The other, the blue boiler plate, that's a Mercury capsule.
Yeah.
Or Gemini. Yeah. Oh, Gemini. They would have had to squeeze 2 people in there.
Tight squeeze.
Yeah.
Probably have to weigh under a certain amount of poundage just to be able to fit into it. Oh, is this the action?
Yeah, so with Mercury and Apollo, they had a tower above the capsule that would ignite as an emergency escape thing.
Right.
But they used a different type of fuel on the Titan rockets, so they couldn't do that with Gemini, otherwise it would have blown up the whole rocket, so they had a different method of injecting this thing.
Wow.
There's your Sea King.
My Sea King, is this the one I lent them?
Huh?
This is the one I lent them, right?
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
This is one I think is my favorite helicopters. I've always wanted to build a model of one.
I think I'm gonna get this back sometime. It's actually a relatively small helicopter.
Yeah, no.
Not very big at all.
Korean War, Vietnam era.
Yeah, real tiny. Pull to dephase. I wonder what that means.
We put the hatch just to be there.
I know. We could both get in there though,
Barely.
but barely. Instead of getting pictures, what's better than getting video?
Alright, well, we'll finish this.
Do you want to ask them now about the simulator just in case? Or we'll do it after.
We have to find a spot.
We go up here for flight deck?
Yeah, that's what we're going to
Go ahead.
And then up the escalator. Or, yeah.
Stairs?
No, escalator.
What
It's
escalator?
just escalator, temporarily stairs.
Oh, careful now.
Yeah, no, those ones.
Everything is anti-slip coating. You can feel it on the handles and everything. Holy crap.
This is original, by the way. We maybe I should put this in to get service life to get people up to the flight deck faster.
I believe it. Whew.
Who would have thought a military ship would have an escalator?
Yeah.
Alright, flight deck. They're always moving stuff around.
Got me a little out of breath doing that.
I know.
We can still go up in there too?
Those are guided tours. We have to wait for those. But
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, look at this Tomcat.
This is still my favorite plane. I love the truck.
I probably have to get closer with this to get Hamilton standard props. East Hartford,
The
Connecticut.
French were using these in Algeria for counterinsurgency operations. They replaced the stock engine with surplus engines from B-17s to
Hey,
give it more power.
nice.
Yeah. And then, of course, what the French did was they put gun pods on the wings. So that,
Look at the French.
yeah.
This wasn't really the range this thing would take off from, would it? No, it had to have a longer catapult than this, didn't it?
Well, no, the Phantoms couldn't operate off of this carrier. It's too small.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
No, Tomcat needs more, doesn't it?
Yeah. But you see, look, the Tomcats, they had the built-in thing for the catapult, but the Hornets didn't. They had to use the cables.
They had to use cables to pull it along.
Yeah.
What, did the cables just hang on the bottom of it after?
Here, look.
That cable just hung there on the plane after?
It did. See? It's a hook. Right? So once the plane flew off, the cable would come off.
Lost at sea.
No, it would stay at the end of the catapult, usually. The only problem with the F-14 is that it didn't have very much of a payload, even though it was so huge.
No.
Because you couldn't have anything under the wings.
Makes me want to build one. Doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, these are the only hard points. You had these and you had a centerline hard point.
Yeah. On the bottom. Right,
Yeah.
right there.
It was the F-8 Crusader.
The last traditional dogfighter.
Yeah. Well, that's because it didn't have Vulcan cannons.
No.
It had Brownings.
That's what it's got right on the side right there. Probably removed, but
It's got...
yeah, they're long since been removed. Probably in some
See the
museum.
cannon on the Tomcat, too, if you want.
W.J. Mattel. Captain S.B. Richardson.
Yeah, and the commander. I don't... These have been there. Captain's bird? That's crazy.
I'm sure they've also been here, those two people, to see this plane.
I'm sure.
They could probably get in touch at any time they want.
So, this has probably belonged to the captain, the XO of the whole ship.
Yeah.
Like his personal mount. That's kind of awesome.
Look at that puppy.
Yeah, that's what the Vulcan cannon is.
What was that, 20 millimeter?
Yeah, 20 mil.
20 mil. And it is no longer in there. Long since removed.
And of course, the Phantom didn't have anything.
No.
Now hear this. Now hear this. The tour for the island will start in 2 minutes.
Oh, perfect timing.
When the ship was originally built, it was with a straight deck. And again, the 1940s, you were able to put as many as 110 aircraft on it. There was as many as 3,500 men on board. And part of the reason for that was because you had a huge amount of firepower on the guns during World War II to combat the kamikazes. 5-inch guns are ones that have a bore that's a diameter this big that shoots a 58-pound shell. They had 12 of those guns on the ship. In addition to that, they had 59 20-millimeter guns all over the ship that shot a projectile that was about this big, and an additional 35 guns that were 40-millimeter guns that were about this wide all over the ship. So this huge amount of firepower during World War II. The reason why you had 3,500 men as a complement on board the ship was to just man these guns to throw up as much as 20,000 rounds of lead a minute to knock down the kamikaze. That was changed with the Vietnam War. When this ship was decommissioned in 1970, they only had 4 of those 5-inch guns that have a barrel that wide. None of the other guns were on board, because all the firepower was the aircraft. And during the 1970 era, 1969, 1970, we only had 54 aircraft on this ship. 110 here, 54 here. Most of them were helos. Most of them were those S-2 Vikings that were back there that were anti-submarine warfare. So when you're looking at a ship, you're standing right now on a ship that's entirely different from what it was originally constructed. So we're going to go up these ladders starting here. So the last person in line, can I ask to hang the chain? I'll do that. What?
This is going to be a long YouTube video, buddy. Might have to split it, actually. I don't know if I can. Take quarters. Getting tired yet?
No. Almost there, buddy.
Oh, I'm alright. They're still coming.
We got one of those GoPros.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna enjoy all this later again.
This area here, be careful of this. You can take a look over here. This elevator here is, this section is called Vulture's Row. And the reason, Vulture's Row, and the reason why is that this used to be an area open to the sea, open to the sky, and the pilots would come up here and watch the other pilots land. So they would hang out here like a bunch of vultures on a carpet, kind of looking at these guys coming in. It's a very difficult thing to land an aircraft on an aircraft carrier. one of the analogies that really is impactful that I heard is that when you're up in the sky in a fighter plane, it's 5 miles up and 10,000 feet up. This thing looks like a postage stamp. And you got to land on this. It's moving at 30 knots. It's maybe in real heavy seas. It might have combat damage, and to add to the complexity, it might even be at nighttime. So that's why maybe 1/2 of 1% of the Navy's 670,000 employees are their fighter pilots. You know, it's a real specialized skill, especially for trying to land on something like this. So these guys would be up here if they were off duty, usually watching their fellow pilots and maybe another air group or something make an attempt to land. To do that, you had to be right down the center line over here. They called it in the groove. And you had to hit wire number 2 or 3 to get an okay grading to maintain your carrier qualifications if you're a fighter pilot. So that's a very difficult thing to do. If you miss it too often, one of the advantages of this angled deck here is you can bolt or go around and try it again. And again, that was very significant safety improvement. It reduced the accident rate by adding this angled deck to 5 accidents for every 10,000 landings. Before that, it was 35 accidents per 10,000 landings. So a real significant improvement on that. Other things that you have up here is, yeah, one time this was a gun tub. During World War II, there was a couple dual 5-inch guns that were over here. This is a radar dome. This little platform up here was usually manned by somebody that was pointing at the planes as they were coming in. It was kind of like a radar gun. And it was very important that they came in at a certain speed to land on this aircraft carrier that was in a very narrow margin. If they were off of that, it wouldn't be a successful landing. They might have to bolt or go around or, more importantly, kill themselves. So you don't want to have that happen too long. Other things that are there right behind you, sir, is a compartment that had cameras and photographic equipment in there. Even during World War II, all of the landings and takeoffs that were taking place on ships like this ship as well as other ones was recorded on film. That's one of the reasons why you see a lot of war films that have great footage. You can take them out of the Department of Defense archives and excerpt it into their movies. So that's what took place over there. Of course, in the late 1960s, they had closed-circuit TVs. You'll see some little small-screen Sony TVs all over the place, and that's the reason why they're there. So you got any questions?
So were they using those photographic records to sort of train an individual pilot as well?
Continue to improve, you know, it was like a crash analysis a lot of times if there wasn't.
You have vertigo, it'll go away real quick when you serve on one of these. Especially if you're always coming up here.
Question about what is the arrows that are in the window, and this is for wind over the deck indicators. Lets the crew on board the deck of the ship know what's going on. Again, it had to be manually adjusted all the time, and I don't think it was really important other than for the helos that were landing here, because there was a real delicate balance for that. Sure, you have to have 30 knots of wind over the deck. That's about 33 miles an hour to launch and retrieve aircraft. But that was all controlled up here, you know, and down below in the pilot house. But this was primarily just an index for people to know what the wind over the deck was down there. The Airedales, they call them, because these guys were flight deck crew. So this is called primary flight control, and it's kind of the equivalent of an air traffic control station at the airport. It's the guy that sits here in this chair, where this boy is usually a very senior pilot, a guy that has flown everything and is in charge of all the operations, not only of the people that wore the different jerseys down there, but the pilots and the aircraft. His realm of responsibility is 10,000 feet up, 5 miles out, and all of this equipment and personnel. Very responsible job. This guy has aspirations to be a captain, with additional aspirations to maybe be an admiral. You know, that's kind of how the chain of progression is for these guys. This guy is pretty much somebody that has a real loud intercom, that if somebody makes a mistake, a pilot, somebody's out of position, he screams over that intercom and gets these guys in line, and he's judge, jury, and executioner for everything that goes on around here. If a pilot made a good landing, he would be giving him credit for a good landing. If he screwed up, he would have expletive deleted type of descriptors for you made a mistake, and the rest of the ship would know about it. So again, that intensity that a pilot has, that hot dog type of macho, it's very important. Even though that there's 250 women pilots now in the U.S. Navy, that's part of the whole culture. You got to do it the right way. Here's something I would like to show you. Excuse me a second.
Can you see? Is this a reinforced glass too?
It probably is now. Yeah.
Back then it probably.
I don't know if it's the original. You know, this was all during World War II open to the atmosphere. That's just kind of the way they operated things at that time. Out there are 4 arresting gear cables. The arresting cables are just these. These are you know, cables that go across. They're about 1.5 inches in diameter, made out of steel and hemp, and they are designed to stop a plane once it lands onto the flight deck. You got to hit wires number 2 and 3. This is the control panel for tensioning those wires the right way. There's 6 dials here. 4 of them are for the 4 cables out there. There's 1 spare, and there's another one that's for this barrier here. This is the barrier I was talking about. This barrier here is, in the event that they can't land with the tail hook and using that cable system, is they would rig up this crash barrier over here. You can see that one of the stanchions over there in the red and yellow, that pivots up and down. They would put that up, put it up on the other side, put up this net here that's kind of made out of canvas reinforced nylon steel cables, and instruct the pilot, if he can't deploy his tail hook, to do a controlled crash. And that was real
nerve-wracking.
Yeah, nerve-wracking type business. They knew how to put this thing up in a matter of 2 minutes, but it took an hour typically to get a plane untangled out of here. And it only happened maybe once every 2 years or so. But that was the, you know, again, fallbacks, redundancy, and everything is really important in the Navy. Other things that you have up here is there's an array of lights over here that helps the pilot land. That's called the Fresnel optical landing system. This is in that movie Top Gun where they said call the ball.
Yeah.
This is what they're talking about here. Is this array of lights will give the pilot a visual representation of what the landing glide path is about a mile away from here. So this is all in a matter of just seconds where this happens. This guy is supposed to be right in the middle. See this red meatball type thing to make an attempt and safe landing on the aircraft carrier. If he's too high, he's going to probably bolter and go around and try again. If he's too low, that's the reason for it being red over here, is that he risks smacking into the fantail of the aircraft and killing himself and destroying the plane, as well as probably a couple hundred other people that might be back there. So this is really a very important thing, in addition with the angled deck over there, that significantly reduced the accident rate. Before the advent of this, the angled deck, it used to be 35 accidents for every 10,000 landings. This reduced it to 7 for every 10,000 landings. The guy who assists them is a guy named, the affectionately cute name is Paddles. The landing signal officer is somebody who's stationed out back there by the flagpole practically, but on the on the right side of the group. And what his charge is to help the pilot land successfully. He's also the guy who would give the pilots a grade on their type of landing. Again, these guys have to be really hot dog and macho, and the best grade that a pilot can get out there, if they do the right landing where he's right down the middle of the center line, hits cables number 2 or 3, because those are the safe ones, is an okay. That's the best grade that he can get. Everything else is substandard and you have to improve on. And that's one of the reasons why these guys hang out on Vulture's Row, is that they constantly want to maintain their carrier qualifications. If they lose it, go back to the minor leagues. That's not a good thing for a pilot. So can I answer any questions that you
What's
might have?
the insulation?
Uh-huh.
What is it? A fiberglass under there, or?
It's probably even asbestos. Yeah, fiberglass and asbestos is that the ship has a lot of it. It was encapsulated to be made safe. They repeatedly go throughout the ship where there is known asbestos with aerosol detecting equipment to make sure that it's safe. And the encapsulation process is kind of like a paint and epoxy type thing that'll just kind of sequester it into one area. If it gets damaged or something, they cordon off the whole area of the ship, send in the guys with the hazmat suits and the aerosol detectors, and they make the remedies on it. It's a real serious business.
Yeah.
Other questions you might have?
Sorry.
That's where the air boss sits. That's the guy that controls all the activity over there. The guy who stands next to him is a mini boss. That's what the affectionate name is. He's one who has aspirations to be an air boss, and he's trying to do on-the-job training. You have maybe a total of 4 people here. Somebody that's operating the lights. You'll also have a yeoman that's standing over here writing down what the bingo information is. And the bingo information is for alternate airfields so that they don't have to deploy that barrier. They can at least try to make an attempted safe landing at a land-based area.
Do they have the thing of the ship where they put the nuts and bolts to show where?
Yeah, they do. They call it the Ouija board.
The Ouija board.
It was down below right at the, I'll show you when we go down. We still have ours. And even though that we have this modern day computerization thing, I've had repeatedly modern day Navy people say they still use that method of the Ouija board for placing everything and indicating where all the aircraft are on board the ship. Good question. You have a question? Let's follow me down this way. We're going to double back and go to the navigation bridge. Got to be real careful.
Where the pubs are, where the fire station is, and they use like nuts and bolts and stuff like that.
Going to have an adult in front of a child, and this might be a good way of going down.
Well, I mean, with the steep steps and things, it's bound to happen, you know.
Hi.
This is cool.
This is the navigation bridge.
Best spot, probably over here, right
Yeah,
here.
you can grab a chair if there's any chairs available. Right this way.
Okay. Did we all get reunited? Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
I knew there were no away.
Ooh, sorry.
Well, this is kind of a real important area. And the reason why it's so important is because they have a coffee pot up there. This is the highest place on the ship where you can get coffee. And the Navy runs on coffee. And it was really important. I never knew this before, but somebody told me, I read it online, is that when Pearl Harbor happened and we declared war against the Japanese and the Germans in December 1941, one of the first things the Navy did was commission 2 roasteries, one in Brooklyn, New York, and one in Oakland, California, to make Navy coffee. That's not it. That's Peerless, and that's a local brand. But the Navy coffee was so important. It's still to this day, the coffee roastery in Oakland is still operating and only making Navy coffee.
Wow.
Go figure.
Yeah.
But what you have here is the navigation bridge. The guys who worked in this area were called quartermasters. Quartermasters is different in the Navy from the Army. The guys that are quartermasters in the Army are logistics and supply guys. These guys are navigators. And the way they did it on the ship was by way of these 2 devices that were back here. This is a chronometer and a sextant. The same type of devices that were used since the 1750s to navigate and know where you were in the middle of the ocean.
Didn't have one of them.
Yeah, the slide rule, well, they used the slide rule all the way up to the 80s.
Oh yeah.
But this was a very specialized skill, where these guys would go to navigation school, learn how to be a quartermaster, where you would recognize one of 58 celestial bodies that were up in the sky and looking at them 20 minutes before dusk and 20 minutes after dawn, where you can see both the horizon and any one of these celestial bodies. That seems to be about the right time where you can see them, including the sun and the moon. They would be able to get a determinant by doing these calculations with exact readings to the second with the chronometer and with the star shot angle over there of a known celestial body. They would come and check these books over here that would have all of this data that goes back to the 1750s. And then calculating the longitude and latitude, they would go to this device that's called a dead reckoning tracer. This is it's an electromechanical computer that was hatched sometime in the late 20s. They would come over here and dial in the longitude and latitude calculation. It took them about 30 minutes to do that. And then this thing here would tie in with the speed of the ship. You can see the speedometer here in knots, as well as the gyro compass. When they put a chart of a certain area of the world, this is a real big chart of a huge area of the Pacific Ocean. What would happen is that when they turned this thing on, there would be a light that would show you approximately where you were. And they would do this repeatedly a couple times of the day. They would do sun shots at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. They would do these star shots at dawn and dusk. So they would constantly check with that. There were maybe about 6 guys that were with these chronometers and sextants, and they would compare notes. The accuracy of this device was a couple miles every day. When you consider how wide and vast the ocean is, that's pretty good. Of course, there were developments afterwards, including this thing called LORAN, Long Range Navigation device. It reads a certain transmitted signal that's on a land-based thing, and if you triangulate it, you can figure out pretty much where you are to about 100 feet with that. However, this was really subject to the vagaries of the weather. If it was stormy outside, it was cloudy, some other disruptions like sunstorms that you have those, this thing would be affected by it. When it worked, it was good, but a lot of times it didn't. So even for the Apollo landings, 1969, they had the best quartermasters in the Navy, used the chronometer and the sextant. In fact, we have GPS right now, right? Everybody has it on their smartphones. In fact, you see where these 4 postmarks are on the floor?
Mm-hmm.
This was one of the first iterations of GPS.
Mm-hmm.
That was used sometime in the late 60s. This thing was about the size of a refrigerator. It had a box on the top. It generated a little piece of tape where you could get the longitude and latitude. It operated and took signals from polar satellites. There were 8 of them at the time. And this was one of the first things they took off the ship when it was decommissioned, because this was really whiz-bang technology.
Mm-hmm.
We now have that on our cell phones.
Yeah.
Of course, the military version of GPS is, I think, something like 5 feet instead of the ones that we have. That's something like 15 or 20 feet. So it's a different iteration of it, but still, the military-industrial complex was the guys that were responsible for a lot of this technology. And as you can see, it's been shrunk down appreciably. Mm-hmm. Here's another example. This is a fathometer. It measures the amount of water that's beneath the keel of the ship. This thing is kind of like the same as a glorified fish finder that you would find out at Walmart for maybe $150 or so. This one, of course, goes down thousands of feet. Very useful for when you're going to weigh anchor. You would have to have something like that. And it's got a data logger on it that kind of records everything. So yes, this is a very historical place too. Is that the quartermasters were? This is an actual photo of 1969 when splashdown of Apollo 11. These guys were getting a little shut-eye because they were up preparing for this real big worldwide event. In fact, this guy over here in the middle is still on board the ship as a docent and one of our board members. So any questions you might have for up here? Let's go into the pilot house. I'll show you some more.
Pretty cool. Active radar. Is this the bridge?
Yes. They call this part the pilot house, and that part beyond the barrier, that barricade is the bridge. And still have voice tubes. Exactly. Even on this day and age, I hear in the Navy ships still have voice tubes because that's probably voice tubes.
I'm gonna sneak around you. I'm gonna go right. Oops, sorry. It's my fault.
It's probably the lowest tech thing, but the most highest reliability device that we have on board the ship. So again, this is the pilot house where you would have a guy who was steering the ship. That was called a helmsman. He's watching the rudder angle here, and he's listening to instructions from the captain, who's sitting in that chair out there, or the officer of the deck. Those two guys are pretty much controlling the action here. This guy is usually a very seasoned quartermaster, and he again is taking instructions, and there's a way of doing this where they have to rotate every half an hour or so with this guy that's controlling these levers. This is called an engine order telegraph. What it's doing is when they slide these things back and forth, they're sounding alarms that are down here in the engine room that tell the people down in the engine room, and that's way down below, to make changes to the speed of the ship. And they would do that by closing and opening these two steam valves way down below. More steam will make it go faster. How fast does it go? This ship has the capability of going to 33 knots, about 38 miles an hour. And that's slow by this day and age. This ship again had 1.5 million gallons of bunker C fuel on board. It's a real thick, viscous type of, looks like stuff right out of the ground. It's an oil-fired steam turbine. The miles per gallon on something like that came out to be about 15 to 17 feet per gallon. And again, if you were steaming at 38 miles an hour, 33 knots,
3 feet,
you would be going, you would go through that 1.5 million gallons of fuel in 4 days, and you always had to have an oiler alongside of it. It was just not a real efficient system, but at the time, this was really spectacular technology. They used to use coal-fired boilers and things in the past, and that's the big difference. This was oil-fired, and nowadays they have nuclear-powered aircraft carriers that are larger than this, that might have, who knows, maybe a ton of uranium or isotopes on board that have to be changed maybe once every 20, 25 years. They can go on endlessly, and they don't have that capacity for 1.5 million gallons of this bunker fuel. So, and the speed that they get is supposedly a state secret. I've had some guys, well, they'll list it if you look online that it goes 30 knots, about 33 miles an hour. And the reason why they do that is because that's what you need to launch aircraft. But those ships are capable of going, I hear, in excess of 60 knots. 60 knots would be almost 70 miles an hour. And you don't have to ever stop for fuel.
Oh, wow.
So it's a real profound difference, the nuclear capabilities. So that's what kind of goes on over here is the captain's, when this ship is at sea, this is the captain's sea cabin. When he's in port, there's an apartment down below on the quarterdeck where he came in, where he's got like very nice accommodations. It's almost like an apartment that has a full kitchen and a galley and everything else like that. That is pretty nice. This is really Spartan looking. There's a scuttle over there for a shower, a toilet. There would always be a Marine orderly that was stationed here. A Marine orderly is a guy who was a bodyguard. There were 54 Marines on board that were the police force of the ship. They kept law and order with all these guys that would, got 3,500 men. They would man the brig. They also manned one of the 5-inch guns. They called it the Marine gun. But this guy was at the captain's beck and call. If it was the middle of the night and he wanted a cup of coffee, this Marine orderly would have to go there and get it for him. And that very coffee pot out there. So that's what the pilot house is. And let me take you out here to the bridge. Okay, welcome to the bridge. Now this here area is where the captain would be sitting in that chair generally. He'd probably spend as much as maybe 20 hours a day in this very area, you know, from get a few hours of sleep out there in the sea cabin. But this chair was only the captain's chair. If you were unfortunate enough to be caught sitting in the captain's chair and you were not the captain, you would hear about it. So it was kind of like an unwritten rule that only the captain would be able to sit in his own chair.
Move up further.
Other things that you have in this area is you see this little platform here would be his desk and where meals would be given to him. From that vantage point, he could watch the catapult launchings there. He could, by way of the silvered mirror over there, he can see the landings coming in. Also, he has a little Sony TV for the closed circuit coverage of all of that. He's got all the controls over here. If he sees something he doesn't like, he can stop all operations and you know, get it remedied by all these switches, knobs, and dials here. This is a real interesting area too because look overhead here and you'll see that there's these wing nuts that are placed all over this area. And this area actually during World War II was open to the atmosphere. And they call this a flying bridge for some reason or other. It was a British tradition to have this area always open to the atmosphere. However, with the advent of the jet age in the early 50s, is the jet blast noise was so loud that this area was literally unusable. So the compromise was to put these sound deadening type panels over here with this to be, you know, taken off if necessary. Another reason that I heard that this was put here is that during World War II, is there used to be people stationed here looking up at the sky and the clouds because kamikazes would make an attempt to come right down the middle. But they also, kamikazes also attempted to disable the elevators because if the elevators were disabled, you couldn't move planes up and down, and then pretty much the ship would be, you know, pretty much hampered from combat operations. But I'm not so sure about the people looking up at the sky from here, but there was other areas where they just had to really keep aware of that and direct the firepower of all these guns that were on board here to knock that adversary out of the sky. Here's another thing that's kind of interesting. This is Tom in the pilot house, over.
Just one question. What time is your last tour like these days? Is it 3:30 like?
No, 3:30.
Figure that out.
Okay, well, again, the ship weighs, when it's fully you know, equipped with all the aircraft and everything, about 41,000 tons. And you think that's a real sizable, substantial thing, but over here on this wall, there's a little device that looks like a bubble level. Bubble level like you might have in your garage to hang a picture. You would use that to orient everything. This bubble level in real heavy seas in a typhoon will move about as much as 25 degrees on either side. You think about this thing being just like a little cork in the middle of the ocean. That's exactly what it is, even though that it weighs 41,000 tons. So there's a lot of physics going on here. Here's another interesting thing that I found kind of cool. You know, this is supposed to be designed with special treatment steel to repel a strafing effort of an enemy aircraft. And it's about 2.5 inches thick or so, and it looks pretty substantial. But nowadays, on modern day ships in this bulkhead, you'll find that those bulkheads are 16 inches thick because, you know, the armaments compared to what they had in World War II are like night and day. Really, one shot, one hit. This was designed for a strafing thing where there would be maybe literally hundreds of bullets here, but obviously it wouldn't be equipped to deal with modern day weaponry. So anybody else have any questions? Yes, we do have voice tubes up here too. This one I know goes right into the captain's cabin. Well, let's go down below and I'll take you back down to the flight deck and continue traveling through the ship. I call this flight deck control. Let me find the lights here. Where's my lights?
Over here?
It's a little twisted. This might work now. There we go.
There's the Ouija board.
That's the Ouija board. We had a guy who made these paper cutouts, and they usually would position the aircraft on both of these. There would be one guy that would be trying to coordinate all of this. It was just crazy because there was a lot of activity with aircraft landings, takeoffs, elevators going up and down. This guy had sound-powered phones on that was in constant contact with probably about 6 other phone talkers on different locations of the ship. A couple photos over here that represent what's going on. And again, the possibility of casualties of the aircraft coming in and slamming into this part of the island was really pretty significant. But these guys were adrenaline junkies. They used to love the excitement of everything. You can see that there's a scuttle here. If you had to open and get out to the other side, you can do that with this really armored.
Might not have time though.
Of course not. It's all a matter of milliseconds when this stuff is happening. But that's how it worked. There used to be certain designations. The aircraft would have numbers on it. If it had to be repaired, they would put a wing nut on it. If it had to be refueled, there was another symbol like a nut or a bolt on it. If it had to be taken down below and repaired, they would flip it over.
And they're still using it today.
Yeah, and that's the surprising thing about it. This is surefire, it's analog, but everybody understood this, and you can, at a glance, of course there were cameras and things that projected this image on certain areas of the ship. They would prefer this over any attempt to try to computerize it. And, still to this day, that's one thing I wanted to mention too about the sextant and chronometer up in the navigation bridge, is that they just recently started taking classes again at the Naval Academy to teach everybody how to do celestial navigation. Primarily because it's fail-safe if you're in the middle of the ocean and the Russians decide to do something and interrupt the GPS systems. You have that as a backup. It doesn't require power. The clocks are all wind-up, mechanical clocks. And that's kind of the way it's set up to be nowadays.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much for showing us around. Really.
It's getting warm in here. Wonder how much each anchor weighs. You can't pick one of those up. There's no way.
They have, if you go to the Kennedy Space Center,
yeah.
They have one piece of the tread in the crawler transport.
Can't pick it up.
They're like, we dare you to try to lift this. I think the one piece of the tread weighs like a ton or 2 tons.
How much do you think each one of those weighs? About 400 pounds? Man, and that might be an overestimate though. 200, 250
yeah.
per link.
This all used to be open.
Really?
When the ship was originally built, they used to have the anti-aircraft out there.
Such a big ship. Wow. What they use this for? Well, we can go see what's in here. Alright, we didn't go check in here yet, did we?
Imagine if they cut one of the anchor lines.
Yeah.
It's like a plasma torch or something. This is the NCO. Or junior officers, one or two. I'm sure this is full of army people for the last couple days.
This is where they were, yeah.
Yeah. And they said this was the women's barracks. This shit was on it when it was in service.
No. Definitely not. Wonder what those are. Just more quarters.
Probably officers' quarters. It's funny to think of how big this ship is. This was one of the small ones.
Yeah. This ship is huge.
You know what you should come in for? Fleet Week.
We mentioned, I think we talked about that before, didn't we?
Last year didn't get a chance to. But that would be cool because you could actually go on other kinds of ships. Like they had an early bird class destroyer you could go on last year.
How much was it? It was only like 50, wasn't it?
Free.
Oh, really?
Yeah, your taxpayer money paid for it, buddy.
When is Fleet Week?
Air shows and Fleet Weeks and stuff. That's all paid for with taxpayer money. Yeah, that's why we pay taxes. It's part of the defense budget.
It is thick.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I walked through and filmed everything.
So did they take you to the Marines barracks and things?
Yeah, we went through that ourselves.
Hang the chain in there.
Sure.
Coming down, be careful.
Tony, your last one, so you take care of it.
Areas where we
wow.
stored and infused ammunition. This was a real good rack duty over here, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Away from some of the rack areas had as many as 240 people on it.
Whew.
So there was a saying that the ship didn't have air conditioning, so that the people that were on board always used to complain that it would smell like feet, farts, and fannies.
Yeah.
So not a real good visual there. This was an elevator for coming for a magazine. In other words, magazine positions were kind of offset so that you weren't having a straight shot with a bomb.
Oh, okay.
You can see how fortified this is with all these.
Right,
These are
right.
called dogs. And they're supposed to designed to contain a blast that came from down there, even to the point where you can see how it's recessed in the floor.
Yeah.
And you would have to actually pivot it with this handle to lift it up and open it.
Wow.
So, you know, real heavy-duty stuff.
That's heavy itself. Probably took what, 2-3 men?
I don't know how many guys. I've never seen anybody do that, but I imagine that, you know, it took a little bit of physics.
A little bit, yeah.
Let's go this way. Another, see a couple sidewinder missiles in here. And,
Oh, wow.
a few other bombs and whatnot over the stage go up by way of this elevator or that one over there, depending on where it was going.
Oh, wow.
You can see all these assembling for bombs would take place. The fuses were over here in this box. And the cook-off time, that was designed to, you know, they would get instructions as to how many minutes and seconds they would have to adjust the fuses on this to when they were dropped. They would, you know, have to have all that kind of planned out and instructed for these guys, and they would handle it. Wow. I've never been in the magazines down below, but I hear they're really pretty substantial and spectacular. Let me turn on the light here. Sure.
Sure. Wow. Yeah. 1,000 pounds. Restricted security area. Yeah, they didn't want anybody in there who didn't know what they were doing.
So this was, again, how they move these things around on these trolleys. And I'm not sure if this is a nuclear one or not. They did have some nukes on here.
Really?
They were stored over here.
Wow. Carry nukes?
Yeah.
It's a great little virtual tour.
One of the important things to note is that you see these red lines over
Yeah.
there,
Mm-hmm.
even at the base of the stairs, and this was always manned by a Marine guard, because on the other side over here is storage for, they call it special weapons, and this was an area that was really big and spacious. I can't let you down there because we don't have it ready for prime time.
Right.
But if you come back in a year, we're going to have that open. And, real big spacious area where they would, you know, repair, they would tune, you know, get everything ready. These guys always had to work in pairs. I heard that some of the people that worked down there were not necessarily Navy personnel, but people that were from Los Alamos.
Interesting.
And, you know, they were technicians, and they had to be psychologically tested and profiled.
Department of
Foot.
Yeah. Lots of nuclear energy.
So were these barriers where you, if you weren't allowed here, you couldn't cross them, right?
No, you could not, and if you did, this guy would do everything in his power to stop you, including if you were an officer. But this guy would either tell you to halt, or he was going to blow you away.
No kidding.
So this was real serious business around here, and this was very close to another Marine responsibility that was down here. You guys want to see the bridge?
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Wonder how many sailors sat their nights in here. Oh man. Woo.
I'm sorry
Yep.
about that.
Nope. That's fine. Oh wow.
A couple cells, you can see there's some 2 and 3 deep here.
Very tight quarters.
Yeah, he didn't want to be in here. Reading some of the historical accounts of the ship, there's actually a couple of Japanese pilots that they salvaged out of the water from World War II that were in here.
In this brig.
Yeah, and
Incredible.
again, that one's for solitary confinement.
Solitary confinement.
But this was not a real popular place. You know, you wound up down here if you were fighting, caused, you know, contraband, never showed
Mischief,
up.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, but you know, they first, before they would put you in here, was usually they would dock your pay, then take a shot.
Oh, right.
You, and then as a last resort, you know, first 7 days was bread and water. Then no longer than 21 days. If you did something real bad, you would be transferred to a military penitentiary, you know, on the shore.
Right, right.
However you got there, who knows?
This is incredible.
Yeah, this is kind of a real historical place because of the Japanese prisoners here. And also the Hornet picked up something like 110 Japanese prisoners. They were people on a troop ship that was going somewhere in the South Pacific, and they had them on board here for, I think, 9 days. Marines with Tommy guns watching them in a forward part of the ship.
Wow.
And when they decided to transfer them to destroyers to go to another, military prison of some sort, a couple of these guys decided to go overboard and just, dropped into the props and killed themselves.
Really?
And
Oh, wow.
They had originally 150 guys that they wanted to bring on board, these Japanese prisoners, and something like 40 of them elected not to go.
So they just,
that Bushido tradition that the Japanese had,
yeah.
is that these guys didn't want to face the embarrassment of being, captured, or, that was a real bad thing.
So they chose to end their lives.
Yeah. And, in some cases, some of the accounts were that these guys, when they were being transferred to a destroyer after 7 days, they would just jump over the side, go right to the screws, the water turned pink.
Because they're going to get sucked right down.
Yeah, and just
Wow.
shoot up, and that's the way they wanted to end their lives. So, different times.
Wow.
Let's see, these off.
This is incredible.
Print shop, vintage 1960s
Oh, wow.
mimeograph machines, linotypes, things like that for printing the plan of the day, stuff like this that was distributed around here.
It's a mobile town.
Exactly.
It's a mobile town.
Got all the accoutrements and amenities of the town.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Let me see if I can remember how to turn this off. Just turn the switch to the right when you're at the top.
Yep. Okay. You got it, Dan?
Yeah, I got it.
There's only one more switch that I didn't turn off that I gotta find down there. Come on up.
Let you take care.
Yeah, thank you for this.
Yeah.
This is really fantastic.
It's always fun to go explore the ship, too.
Yeah.
Wonder how many sailors kind of got lost on the ship in their first few days.
Well, you even do that when you come on board and you're a docent. Even the guys that served on this ship, they might have been here for 18 months or 2 years, but their assignment was strictly to go, to the arresting gear area,
Right.
to their rack, and to the mess deck, and that was it.
So everywhere else was just new to them.
Couldn't go that way.
Okay. So this barrier means you could not cross this red right here, correct? So you can only go up to here.
Yes.
Whew.
And it was right next to the enlisted men's store. We converted it to kind of like a area where you show models and things.
Yeah, we were ogling all the model kits on the second deck.
Yeah.
We're
we
both
like
model builders.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we like to build.
A lot of the docents and whatnot were really fanatical about that, especially the guys that flew in some of these Zeppelin Crusaders and things. And, on the other hand,
That one looks good.
Yeah.
Nice.
So this used to be a store where you would be able to buy things like, a spare cover if you lost yours,
Yeah.
or suntan lotion, or cigarettes for a
Oh,
dollar
nice.
a carton. Or,
So like a little commissary or PX kind of thing?
Exactly.
Oh, very cool.
I think we do it right on. And gotta watch out for these combs that are
Yeah.
out here.
I'm glad I didn't get my version.
There's another combing up here.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Turn on the light.
It's kind of creepy wandering around in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole body of knowledge about the proverbial ghosts around here. This is an interesting area that it's called a G-Dunk, G-E-D-U-N-K. It's a naval term, comes from the mid-1910s or something, and it's supposedly named after one of three things. G-Dunk might mean the noise that a coin makes when you stick it into a vending machine.
Okay, yeah.
Some German people told us that it's a German word for taking bread and dunking it into coffee.
Okay.
And then somebody from Hong Kong said, no, it's a Cantonese word that means resting under a shady tree. So I don't know why it's called G-Dunk, but this was like a 7-Eleven, one of that.
Oh, cool.
You can see all
They got the ice cream
tables.
machines and everything.
Yeah, well, the ice cream machine was the thing that everybody else in the fleet didn't have. And we had soft serve ice cream, and that was
The
a
envy of-
reward. And, you can especially destroyers that were on plane guard. That means that they were doing flight operations following a couple thousand yards behind the aircraft carrier, that if in the event that a pilot had to ditch,
Right.
what they would do is they would retrieve the pilot. And that was really important.
Yeah.
But the deal was, since they knew that we had ice cream and destroyers being a lot smaller, they didn't. Was before they would give that pilot back to the Hornet, they would have to get 20 gallons of ice cream. No ice cream, no pilot back.
No, I pay. Hey, wow, look at this. This is just
That was
incredible.
Kind of a tradition that,
Hamburgers.
you see the purple pipe,
Yeah.
is, jet fuel. Line.
Jet fuel?
Yeah, the red cans over there are for, it's called a fog foam. Fighting chemical fires.
Yeah.
To certain areas that you have to.
So what are we like about 4 decks below right now?
This is the third deck.
Third deck.
You can tell by looking at these things are called bullseyes.
Third deck.
We're in the third deck, B section of the ship. There's A, B, and C. It's kind of a
Right.
midships, and there's 210 frames on the ship. They're kind of like the ribs on it. So this kind of gives you an idea of where you are.
Okay. Nice.
And you'll see those bullseyes all over the place. Let me point you over there.
Sure.
All right. Take a step over here.
My light too.
Yeah. Saw the foam liquids.
Yeah, the fog foam. It was supposedly some sort of animal protein.
Huh.
When mixed with salt water, it's very effective at suppressing.
Really?
It smelled really bad.
We've seen it.
This is an overhead view of
Oh wow.
all the engineering compartments that are storage tanks located around the hull of the ship. This is looking down at the ship.
Oops, sorry, Dan.
That's all right.
And you could, you'll see gauges and dials all over the place that record what the levels of these fluid compartments are. Because they had to make sure that the ship was trim as best as possible.
Right, right.
Sometimes even used for counter flooding. If you had an impact of a torpedo on this side, you would fill compartments over here with seawater.
To counterbalance?
Yeah, to try to right the ship. But all of these were for, jet fuel, for that bunker C fuel, for propylene glycol for the catapults, for drinking water. And, occasionally the drinking water would taste like jet fuel, and nobody liked that, but that's kind of the way the was. So this is an overhead view, and this is where we're going to go. I'm going to take you down to the forward engine.
Oh wow.
This is the water line, so we're going to be about 15 feet below the water line.
Okay.
And one thing to note here is that this axle for turning, in Navy speak, these are called screws,
Right.
propellers.
Okay.
This here is about 257 feet long. And you're trying to protect this at all costs, so that this is a very protected area, the heart of the ship, that you want to make sure is, and again, redundancy and backup, you have another engine room that's back aft over here. In case, all of these work, but at least if one of them are hit, you have another one that's going to serve the purpose of it. This is the reason why the Hornet CV-8 was sunk, was because these were too close together.
Wow.
Over here. This is where we're going to go. We'll go down there. See if the lights went on? Okay. Just a few things over here. This is a very protected area. See the little Z symbol over here?
Yep.
Yeah.
This means material condition Z. That means during battle stations, this door, you can see that it's designed to be a watertight, airtight type lock, where it has these dogs on it that will really withstand any of the vagaries of something that went on the other side over here. And the reason why is that you're close to the engine room. You have to, at all costs, you can't open that door during battle stations unless the captain or executive officer gives the person.
So even if men are trapped there?
If the guys are entombed here. They're
Wow.
That's the way it kind of works. So they try to make some amends for it, including this battle dressing station here, where a corpsman would be stationed. This guy was designed to be here during battle stations to patch up any injuries that might be in the engine room or in this general area.
Wow.
But, material condition Z is something that everybody knows, that door has to be locked and secured, and nobody can open it until there's a personal approval from the captain to open it.
Wow.
Electric shop here, that's why this is where the batteries.
A good friend of mine worked in the electric shop on the Nimitz.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
That must be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn on
Go ahead.
a light here for this panel
Okay.
so you guys can see a little better.
This is incredible. Do you want me to close this behind me?
I think it's okay. They'll know. Somebody will know I'm down here.
Okay.
First ladder we came down from the hangar deck, that was 2.5 inches of special treatment steel.
Right.
This is the fort deck that we're going into, and this is also another barrier of 2.5 inches of special treatment steel. You know,
So to protect the engine room again.
Yes, at all costs, you have to do that. You'll notice the material condition Z on the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, you can see the armor plating right there.
Yeah.
There's still down below another 2 decks.
Wow.
You know, again, the idea is to protect this, where, you know, if there's any mines or anything, there's something that will absorb the concussion of those mines and things down below. On either side, right here at the throttle board for this. You see this bulkhead, this wall over here?
Mm-hmm.
From there to the side of the hull of the ship is 20 feet. And it's filled with voids so that the impact of a torpedo can disperse some of
Okay, right.
you know, just to absorb all of that. And everything that you see over here, this is kind of like a central control station for all 4 of the turbine systems. The turbines have the capability of generating 37,500 horsepower. So times that by 4, you get 150,000 horses that are driving this thing at full tilt and getting up to 33 knots. So that's why you have all these things here, is because to make the fire that boils the water that makes the ship go after it turns into steam, you have to have these fire rooms that are on the other side of the wall over here. And that's an area where they literally would take the bunker C fuel, heat it up, aerosolize it into these huge chambers that are bricked, and the flame is about 6 foot tall. Wow. And there's all sorts of tubes, stainless steel tubes that go through there with triple distilled water. And the water has to be super pure, and they do that by, there's distillation plants, there's 5 of them on board here. Take in seawater, evaporate it by way of, you know, steam and whatnot, and the condensate is super pure, but they just triple distill it for use in the engines over here. And they have the capability of making 93,000 gallons of water a day. And the priority is for 80,000 for the power plant here. What's left over is for washing the planes, preparation of food and laundry services and that, and then lastly it would be for the guys taking a shower.
Right.
So they have things called water hours where you were not allowed to take a shower, or if you elected to do that, it would be a saltwater shower, and that wasn't really too popular. So over here is where there would be a couple throttle men that would open and close these. Usually the conditions down here are very noisy, maybe about 95 decibels. It's like a
deafening,
train.
right?
And the only outdoor air that you're getting is from this duct over here. In fact, when we first reconditioned this place, the diamond plate on the floor was kind of worn, you know, flat because people were just trying to get a whiff of.
Really? Yeah.
And hot down here with all the equipment and whatnot is. It used to be usually about 20 degrees hotter than ambient. In other words, if you're in the Philippine Sea and it's 100 degrees out there, it's 120 down here. So the guys that work down here, they're called snipes. You know, the kind of the nickname for them. And these guys were always recognizable when you went on shore because when the snipes were in their dress whites, you know, all the aerosolized oil and everything here, they could never get clean. You know, they always said that they looked like they were dirty. They couldn't hear a damn thing. You know, the hearing was entirely blown out. And they always also used to joke that if you ever got above the water line, you'd get nosebleeds. So that was kind of, you know, the little story they had there. But here you see the same thing you saw up in the pilot houses. This is what's telling them how many revolutions the propellers.
That's where they would call down like this, and this is where they would receive it right here?
Yeah, all these claxons and alarms would ring. They would get the instruction here, and then they would acknowledge it by this little toggle thing. So it's an electromechanical system. And watch how many RPMs are on the 4 screws, the 4 propellers over there, and used to translate into so many knots. And Again, I heard the fastest it would go is 250 revolutions per minute, and that's when this thing was going at full tilt.
It's amazing.
And they used to call it going at Bendix speed.
Bendix?
That's redlining it all the way here beyond flank speed. So when they would say all ahead Bendix, that meant that you gave it everything you got.
It's amazing that 41,000 tons can get up to 38 miles an hour.
Yeah, you can water ski behind this thing. You know,
Yeah,
it went that fast. Of course, you would have to have a line that was about a mile long.
Yeah.
Else the prop wash would kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can conceivably water ski behind this.
This is just incredible.
Very dated old technology. You know, even if you go on the Midway, that's maybe 2 years younger than this ship. Is they have an air-conditioned, throttle board room. They did not have this, where these guys had to look at that bulkhead wall where there's a mirror, and that mirror kind of projects onto the shaft that was spinning, and there's like a barber pole type of red and white stripe on there, so they can see that it's going the right way.
Wow.
And again, the guys that were down here had to be aware of this, and especially it was real dangerous too, because these steam lines had what was called superheated steam in it. Superheated steam is 850 degrees Fahrenheit and under 600 psi of pressure. It's not like steam kettle steam. This stuff is dry. It's invisible if there's a hole around here, but it would sound a little bit different. So these guys would sense that there might be a steam leak from a flange or something, or just a steam leak in a pipe. And they would suspect an area, and the way that they would detect where that was is by taking a simple broomstick and holding it and rubbing it along the suspected area. And that when that broomstick was cut in half, or cut with a real abrupt cut, they would seal off the leakage area, assign the pipe fitters to come in here and weld it up and fix it.
Wow.
You know what's funny about that is that the nuclear Navy, we had a couple of guys down here that were nuclear Navy guys that worked in their engine room. They said they used the same instrument of detection, a simple broomstick.
Broomstick? Wow,
Yeah,
that's
nuclear
incredible.
It's the same pretty much principle. It's all steam still. It's just a different way of making steam.
Yeah, it is, but the steam that goes into this turbine system over here, here's some sort of inline detector for the amount of purity of the water, where you have to have that triple distilled stuff. Gyro compass down here, in the event that all the other four areas of the ship that can't steer it can at least see a direction over here, and open and close those two steam valves there to get the props to go in either direction.
Differential.
Yeah. Over here is the turbine system itself. You can see the blades in the low pressure turbine. On this side is a high pressure turbine.
Wow, look at this.
Superheated steam comes in over here. These two will generate about 3,000 revolutions per minute when it connects to this gearbox. The gearbox will step it down to that 250, anywhere between 100 and 250 revolutions per minute. On the other side of that wall is a shaft. This is the cross section of what the shaft looks like. All told, this is about 19 and 1/8 inches outer diameter from here to here. It's hollow on the inside. When you're steaming at full steam, this thing is literally twisting. And yes, it will break. And from that wall over there, 257 feet back aft, there's a shaft alley where this shaft, hollow, that long, going out to the screws.
Wow.
And you had to go in there and inspect it, so there was somebody assigned every certain interval to go in there and make sure everything was true and not breaking. And
wow,
that must have been pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So this here system alone is 37,500 horsepower. Just this one. We've got one on the other side of the room and two back afts that are the four
that's incredible.
turbines. And this was really the secret sauce I heard during World War II. This is some kind of Westinghouse double reduction here.
I think by you. You're right.
In the 60s, there was some really bad stuff that happened on, I think it was the USS Ranger, where somebody threw a handful of bolts in one of these ports over here and disabled the ship. And you can imagine how difficult it was to repair that, because the ship was literally constructed around this.
Yeah, I mean, how would you get...
Yeah, how do you lift it out of there?
Yeah.
And somehow or other they had to figure out a way of fixing that, and the ship was discombobulated for, I think it was 6 months.
It's where the engineers come in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I go through the bottom of the ship and try to do it that way.
Yeah, there was some way that they managed to fix it. There's that mirror that points down on the
Yep, and it's showing which way it's moving.
shaft alley on the other side of it. This is a distribution board for, this is an electrical generator system. Ship's steam turbo generator, that the generator part is over here, that would work on regular steam, not superheated steam, but would make the power for the rest of the plant. And there's actually 4 of these plus 2 backups, and the backups are diesel locomotive engines that are up forward and back aft, that are literally the same ones that they use on submarines during World War II, but these things are huge. They work on diesel fuel, and they had to turn them on at least once every week or so to make sure that they were working. So the drilling, the preparation for it was extremely important. Distribution panel over here. Usually there was somebody stationed here as an electrician that manned this. The watches down here were 4s and 10s, 4 hours on, 10 hours off, and you would rotate that. And what else can I tell you? Come this way. Oh, we have a broomstick.
A broomstick?
A broomstick that was used for detecting steam leaks. And the reason why you had to do this with a broomstick is because if you were unfortunate enough to walk by this invisible steam leak, this high pressure thing, it would cut off your arm and at the same time cauterize it. It was that powerful steam. So these guys would kind of suspect something was going on. They were trained to detect the different harmonics that one of these leaks would, even with 95 decibels of noise. And they said, I think there's something going on there, and then they would try to
wow, and it would just cut it sheer like that?
Yeah, it would. It would cut it, as abrupt like that, including if you had your arm on there.
Oh man, I can only, wow.
But this is kind of replicating what you had over there. There's parts missing because this was a pick-apart ship after it was decommissioned, where other Essex-class carriers at the time were using our parts to fix their ship. And some of them, were kept on running for another 10 years or so. Yes, there was a lot of vibration. You can see the vibration isolating springs and things that are up there in the ceiling that just the concussion, the shock of combat, as well as when you're changing lines and everything.
Yeah, you would probably literally jostle.
And that too. There's kind of a lot of that going on here. And what else can I show you? You have the same type of turbine system over there. We call that one Shirley, and there's a bunch of reasons for that. But I think it was one of the CPO's girlfriend's wives, or a bar girl in the Philippines.
Oh, right.
Or a morally casual bar girl in the Philippines that happened to sneak on board or something like that. And, the stories will grow.
So right now we are 15 feet, you said, below sea level?
Yes, and we're on kind of like the fifth deck, fourth deck.
Wow, incredible.
So yeah, we're kind of in the real bowels of the ship, but there's still a couple compartments down below. And
wow.
How you would hail those boys that are down there, they had Zerk fittings on all the bearings and whatnot that they would have to grease, and you would hail them and call them like that. And barking down the voice tube that goes down below, redundant backup, very analog, very simple, that never fails.
No.
But the way they would communicate on this ship was by way of something called sound-powered phones. And this is a bad representation of the tangle of wires here, but this literally is a way of getting very specific areas that you would jack into these areas of the ship, and this would work without electricity by talking into it. There's a little coil and diaphragm in here that would vibrate with your voice, generating an electrical impulse, and almost akin to 2 tin cans and a string.
Right.
But this
ingenious
is still
Yeah.
extremely reliable, used to this day on commercial commercial vessels and Navy ships. Sound-powered phones is all over the ship, and you can talk to it by putting it into the right jack. It's not real high fidelity, but it does work really.
You'll be able to hear, communicate. Wow, incredible.
Speaking of hearing, there's
Pencil sharpener mount.
this little soundproof room is called the hear room because it's sound insulated. If you were kind of a newbie or an officer that wasn't supposed to be in here, you can use these sound equipment, and you can hear in here. That's why they hear room.
Hear room.
But this is a MC, mass communication system for talking to people down here on the loudspeakers. And we also have these little boxes that are called growlers. It works on the same basis as a sound-powered phone. And you can talk in there to any of these 15 stations.
Wow.
Redundancy backup, including the dial phones that they had going through the entire ship.
Wow.
This tank is a de-aerated tank. After the steam goes through the turbines, it usually accumulates in some sort of condensate pool, and the condensate pump will pump it into here. Since the water's hot and has a lot of energy, they try to save as much as they can by putting it in there, de-aerating it, and reintroducing it into the boilers.
Interesting.
And so that's what we call the de-aerating tank.
Why did they always use like brass for all the fittings and things like that, or copper?
Well, I know they use manganese bronze on the propellers because they're easy to work and they're pretty resilient. I remember I asked the same question as to why they use that, and I think it's...
I always thought it was just tradition, because even the old sailing vessels used to have brass fittings and
Yeah,
stuff too.
I mean, you see the brass piping there on the call tubes, and it's just everywhere you go. It's kind of, it must be a tradition as well.
Yeah, and it's got a huge scrap value. They say the screws on the end of the ship are, just if somebody elected to take them off, it's got a huge scrap value. That the scrap metal, the copper that makes up brass is supposed to be really valuable nowadays. But yeah, you see it everywhere, and I'm sure that it has to be, proven to test of time as well.
Yeah.
Not only the aesthetics of it, is that you can have bright work always polished. That's what they call that stuff that's used as, trim and whatnot over there. And guys have to have things to do at ships, at sea, including, this.
It's for extra
I think
grip.
We call this coxcombing, or some people call it fancy work, where somebody's assigned to do this when you're at, steaming to Hawaii.
Now hear this. The USS Hornet Museum will be closing in 10 minutes.
About 10 minutes.
Please exit
That's
out
it. Time to go.
That's still in operation.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey guys, what's up?
Looks like we have a little board tonight, huh?
Yes, we
I'm going
do.
to show these two guys for 5 minutes out
Hey,
there.
no problem.
Thanks. That's the, we still use this to serve hot food, even though it's an all steam, all electric
Right.
kitchen.
Alright,
Served 1,400,000 meals in its lifetime. These guys were fed 4 times a day for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and something called midnight rations or mid-rafts. And yeah, you would queue up over here, take one of these metal trays.
Yeah, it's another one thing.
Yeah.
And this is for enlisted men. Okay. Very different for the officers. The officers would eat off of ceramic dishes. And they would have orderlies and mess stewards that would serve them.
Right.
And over here, these guys, were enlisted guys. They might have to wait as long as 45 minutes to an hour to get fed. After they got their chow, they come here. Yeah, this now doesn't look like it's for 3,500 men at one time. You can take a look at the menu that they have over here on this board. Got one for the 40s vintage and one in the 70s.
Oh, no kidding.
But, it would tell them what they had to,
Fruit
had to
tray,
eat for
pea soup, olives and celery, barbecue roast pork.
But you can see that this is a small area. You can't put 3,500 guys in here. So the tradition was that when you sat down, you ate in about 4 or 5 minutes. You ate real fast.
You got up.
No smoking down here, no congregating. This is not a real exact replica of this because they had benches that kind of scooted out like this and this, where you can sit down and then they had to clean up and
Right.
out of the floor. But this served multiple purposes. It was a triage hospital. If we had a lot of casualties, they would just set them on the table and kind of do that. Also over here on the other side of that, you notice how that combing is not like that. That's what they call a knee knocker or combing.
Right.
Again, for waterproofing, airtighting. This one has a flat combing. The reason why is that while these guys were eating a lot of times is, those carts that had the bombs and things that we saw down there, they would fuse them over here and then push them over there to that elevator.
Oh,
Go
okay.
to the flight deck or the hangar deck.
Okay.
And
Right.
all of this was kind of going on while these guys were eating a lot.
Wow.
So the magazine would come from there, they have it on a hand.
Roll it
type
right
of
through
valve.
here.
Yeah, roll it right through here, fuse them up. And
Wow.
So you're looking at a big piece of history. Including, let me show you one other thing here. That's the best smelling area of the entire ship.
Best smelling area?
It's not with the pre-ups. This one was the bakery.
Ooh, bakery.
Over here for bread. A bread slicer. You put a chub of salami or bologna in here. Make sandwiches. Sandwiches were really important. All the ovens here were for baked goods, but they never had pizza on board.
No pizza?
No. Go figure.
With a dough mixer?
Yeah, dough mixer, you know. This again kind of reminded everybody of home, so they
wanted to come hang out here.
Get a whiff of what it smelled like in civilization. And again, the pilots, because there might have been as many as 120 pilots on board. You know, these guys, it might be their last day on the face of the earth, so they treated them pretty nicely. They always had in their ready rooms, you know, pastries and biscuits and things that they had at their, just that anytime they wanted, they can eat it.
Right.
So that was one of the privileges of, you know, you'll notice that in the ready rooms they had leather seats.
Yeah, they were very comfortable. We sat down in them.
Yeah, and you know, that was kind of a special privilege, and primarily because, you know, these guys get killed. It took a huge amount of resources and time to train them, and not a real happy tale.
No. Thank you.
Sure.